Hmm? Hold on, chat. All right. Themes, lunch flames. Yeah. I am kind of bored. I will admit that gladly. That's, all right. Make sure I'm muted on it. I think I am. To a degree. Very interesting. Yeah. I wow. All right. So, all right. Did anyone else see the little mentioned video of someone finding the fire extinguisher available in the verse chat? They've already appeared, which is so weird. You would think fire extinguishers wouldn't be ready at any point for Star Citizen yet. But yet, here they are. They're available. They're around. Something completely new. Another YouTuber captured it on tape a while back, 2 days ago. I had to dig up the video, but yeah, very interesting. That's for sure. Oh. What I'm going to show is something that is technically a very incomplete item. I don't know if it's intending to be in the verse yet at all, but yeah. PGR, the channel, discovered this in I believe 4.01. Very interesting item. I remember how fire extinguishers was being talked about for a while, chat. And we're like, it's not going to show up or anything like that. Well, lo and behold, give me a second. There we go. This shows otherwise.
Or something like that.
Right. Did they put fire extinguishers? Do you know that they have fire extinguishers in our... Yo!
Read what that says. Never seen this description before.
In our...
Effective range 3 to 4 meters. The KE Group's APX fire extinguisher has been rated a best-in-class consumer-grade safety equipment for well over a decade, making it the industry standard in fire prevention. Filled with a patented gaseous cooling compound, the extinguisher can rapidly smother any flames in sight. The digital screen on the device allows you to monitor the local temperature to help you contain and eliminate fire hazards.
Yo! What? There's fire extinguishers now.
So it's an APX fire extinguisher. Looks like it has 20 ammo or 20 uses, at least in this iteration. Very interesting. Never seen anything like this.
What?
Yeah, I tried to interact with them, but they're not interactable. Polaris has them, I think. All over the place.
Yeah, I have one in my hands right now.
Oh, you're able to work with...
It's in my inventory.
Mine.
It's in the inventory. Maybe they gave it to us somehow. But it's just not working.
Huh. Never noticed that.
Yeah. Can't wait, man. That means the very next major patch, engineering with fire. Can't wait. That's really cool though. Just randomly saw him like, what the heck is that? That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's
Always
really
improve, even in the little ways, chat. Anyways,
cool.
give our boy PGR a follow or a like to his video if you can. That's very interesting how he discovered that. If I remember straight, he also was the first to discover the, what do you call it? Those beacons? Fire extinguisher. I think this might be the guy that discovered the whatcha-dinger. Let me see. Let me see. But yeah, it is kind of cool. They discovered that the fire extinguishers are actually in the game right now. Can't use them. Oh, well, yeah, here it is.
It up.
He discovered this in 323. The
Okay, so now let's see now. Just activate, inspect. What on earth is this? It does look like a medical device, though.
this guy seems to have a
It says
good
right
habit of
there.
finding new stuff
Okay. So
somehow.
let's see. Carry. And we have the option to activate. What? It lit up. Is this a beacon? Hold on. This is a beacon. Look at how this is lighting up. Can I just place this right here? Place. That's pretty cool. So what is this, a medical beacon? Carry. Or I can't deactivate it once it's activated. That's interesting. If you guys know what this thing is, let me know in the comments down below. It doesn't actually have any information on it. It says it's a flare, apparently. It's some sort of flare. But I'm sure it has some sort of function.
Yeah. Definitely cool stuff. I mean, we're beginning to get into the part of the game, the part of the verse where stuff coming out is a regular occurrence. We'll just have to wait and see. That doesn't sound very good. Strangely enough, no, not tonight, which is odd. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just lucky tonight. I already adjusted it. How are you? Can't say I'm complaining. Yesterday was the Daymar rally for me. So I'm still kind of tired regarding that. Yeah. It is kind of insane. Yesterday was still one of the better race days, I have to say. It's been my third year in a row. The third year doing the Daymar Rally. I don't know if I'll be doing it again, though, because I've heard some weird mumblings. The guy that was apparently supposed to be doing security, he's wanting to step down. And there's some worry among some of the people that a lot of people are going to infiltrate. Maybe so. Hmm. Seems a little harsh, your criticism, but okay. Hmm. Anyways, now that I have some people over here, has anyone seen this? Figured I'd ask because there's an interesting video that I need to show. This came out 2
Take
days
this
ago.
contains
PGR
EM or something like that.
shared it. Let me see if pull it up.
That.
Right.
I wasn't expecting this.
Did they put fire extinguishers?
Even as physicalized
We have
items.
fire extinguishers in our.
So these are APX. This is the APX fire extinguisher. Now it's currently a paperweight at the moment, but that didn't matter. It's still in your inventory. So it reads as follows. The KE Group's APX fire extinguisher has been rated a best-in-class consumer-grade safety equipment for well over a decade, making it the industry standard in fire prevention. Filled with a patented gaseous cooling compound, the extinguisher can rapidly smother any fires in sight. The digital screen on the device allows you to monitor the local temperatures to help you contain and eliminate fire hazards. Now, here's the thing. The object is in the game right now. I think this is from 4.0.1. So if that's the case, this is going to be a paperweight for a while yet, but the fact it's even in there as a physicalized item is very, very interesting. What do you guys think? You think we might get some level of repair or flame hazards or something this year? Because this is really weird. Because keep watching this.
Yo, what?
He can
There's fire
pull out the
extinguishers.
scalpel, and then he can pull out this.
What?
This is the APX fire extinguisher. Apparently, it has 20 uses, I guess, on it.
Yeah, I tried to interact with them, but they're not interactable. Polaris has them, I think. All over the place.
Yeah, I have one in my hands right now.
Oh, you're able to work with.
It's in
I
my
couldn't interact
inventory.
with mine.
There we go. There's a good look at. Man, that is a big extinguisher, though. So the nozzle's here. This is a completely different hand setup.
It's in the inventory. Maybe they gave it to us somehow, but it's just not working.
Never noticed that.
Yeah. Can't wait, man. I mean,
There's a good side by side of it. So it's a red extinguisher, red bars. Interesting.
the very next major patch, engineering with fire. Can't wait. That's really cool, though.
Yeah, we'll see, dude,
Just
about the
randomly saw it,
whole.
like, what the heck is that? That's cool, man.
I don't think we're gonna have engineering right away. That'd be a fool's errand. But yeah, give the boy PGR, give our man PGR a follow if you haven't already, or at least like his video, because that's a cool find on YouTube. That was a cool find. He's the only one who's talking about that. Legit, that is neat. Do I think it's going to be functional right away? Nah. However, that is really awesome. That he just some random guy happens to stumble across this.
and then you can attach it as at your weapon as a weapon slot.
I wonder if you can use it as a weapon. That's a good question. Still think it's unusual to see something like that without any use in the game. Surely it's probably part of engineering. With engineering literally hovering on the horizon, it's probably why we have this. Yeah. In my opinion. Right. Hmm.
take those Nova tanks and use them or something like.
Hold on, where is it?
Covering Star Citizen can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes patches come out and they're in a really tough state and it makes it really difficult to cover the game as a content creator for it. And I try to be straightforward with you guys when I make videos that there are problems with Star Citizen if it's relevant to the subject of the video that I'm making. So
Fair
when I make
enough,
videos about,
Morph.
say, spaceships for an Architect Reviews, the subject is about the design of a ship in the game and not necessarily about how well the game runs, and this can confuse a lot of people. If you just watch my Architect Review series, you might think that there's no problems with the game whatsoever, that it runs perfectly, it's perfectly smooth, but that is not the case, and it's not my intention to make anybody think that the game is perfect from watching those videos. Again, it's a video focused on just the way the ship is designed and not about whether or not the game is in a playable state. And I try to make that very clear in my other videos when I talk about the game. And this, unfortunately, can confuse a lot of people, thinking that I'm somebody who's very positive about the game, or that I'm somebody who's very negative if they suddenly see a gameplay-focused video where I'm talking about some critical issues, because in that context, talking about the issues with Star Citizen becomes a very relevant topic to discuss. So depending on your preference for content and what videos are suggested to you, you could see me as somebody who's very positive about Star Citizen or somebody who's very negative, or in the worst case scenario, see both and think that I'm flip-flopping between being positive and negative about the game. Now, I definitely won't deny here that I can get emotional, and I let that come through my videos. I think that's part of just being somebody who's invested in a game that they like. You get emotional about it because you're invested emotionally in it. I want to see Star Citizen succeed, so when it's not succeeding, I feel a bit frustrated, as I think anybody normally would if they care about a subject. But my problem is that I'm not always conscious of the way that can come off to you guys, and you can misunderstand my perspective. So, to clarify here, my perspective on Star Citizen is that I want to see it succeed. I love this game, and I
Yeah.
will continue to love this game because it's got a scope that includes so much of what I want to see out of a space game. Something that I'm sorry to say that even now more than ever is probably never going to happen outside of an independent publisher funded in the way that Star Citizen is funded. But how somebody shows care for something that they care about varies from personality to personality. Now, my background, as you guys already know, because I talk about it in my videos, is architecture. And in the field, what you do when you give feedback, typically, is to provide constructive criticism, elaborating why something isn't successful, why it's not working in the way that the designer intended, and then give some possible constructive feedback for how it can be improved. So rather than saying, this ship sucks in the context of Star Citizen, you might instead say that the way that you enter the ship doesn't seem to be that intuitive. There are problems with entry, maybe that there's only one entry to the ship, and that could cause problems logistically for getting on and off of it in an emergency, or for when you're in a bottleneck situation and somebody's waiting for you at that exit and wants to kill you.
Hey,
A lot of
Dark
these videos
Sided.
giving,
Yeah,
constructive
Morph's
feedback,
just
but
giving
all it
his
is
opinion
basically
on the
just
start of the
elaborating
year.
on why
How are
something
you,
is bad,
Dark Side?
articulating why you feel a certain way about something, and then providing some options. For how
07,
they can
man,
solve it.
how are
Whether or
you?
not they take those options is not important. It's just to help them start thinking critically about how to improve it. If at all, they think that your criticism is valid, because of course,
Hope you're
criticism
doing
is an
well.
opinion, and not everybody is going to share that opinion. Now, personally, whether or not I think my opinion is important isn't that important. I hope that you guys think it's valid, and I try to provide good feedback to support my argument so that you can make that decision. And if you keep watching, I hope that that means that you think that my arguments are convincing. But I definitely don't personally think that I'm always right, or that only I have the solution, and yada yada yada. It really is just an opinion, and whether or not you agree is something that I invite. I like people having discussions in my comment section, and I always invite it. And I think everybody's opinion is valid. Not all opinions are right, but I think opinions are
Hey,
valid.
son of
Certainly
son.
my opinions in the past
Long time no see,
have always
man.
been right. But I try
A
to
lot of people
approach
coming out of the
videos as either
woodwork
glass
tonight.
half full or glass half empty, depending
07.
on whether or not I feel in recent time that
A lot of
CIG
people.
has been giving me reason to look at things optimistically or pessimistically.
What's new,
So, for example,
guys?
if they've continued to deliver patches that have not met expectations or missed deadlines, then I don't think that it's necessary to approach the video as a glass half full, as it could be somewhat destructive or counterproductive to always give CIG the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes I think you need to be a bit more on the critical side, this is again my opinion, to provide appropriate constructive criticism. And recently it really has felt like CIG have not been delivering on goals that they've set for themselves and shared with us. And so my reaction to that is to be critical and honest with how they've not been delivering, and to be a bit more on the pessimistic side, as they've not given me reason to give them the benefit of the doubt. I've covered Star Citizen for many years now, and I've been around long enough to remember when they first talked about Pyro over 5 years ago. To see
No
it delivered
worries.
now, 5 years later, far behind the schedule that I'm sure that they set internally. And even, Chris Roberts himself admitted in his letter from the chairman that this took a lot longer than they expected. And worse yet, what they delivered wasn't exactly a true live experience. They definitely cut out a ton of features that they had originally planned for it, and we don't know when they're going to be bringing them in because we still don't have a timeline. So again, I personally feel like I have good reason to be more on the glass half empty side of the criticism.
Oh, I remember messing with
Perhaps one of the biggest
headphones.
thing that drives
Those
me
are
to want to
funny.
continue to provide
Fun.
critical feedback and not just focus on, say, ship reviews, is because that my videos have brought a lot of people into the game, and their experiences, judging by their comments in said videos, are not matching up to the expectation I seem to have unintentionally set in those videos. And before you say, why don't you just talk about the bugs in every video, again, it would feel really weird to start talking about bugs in a video
Yeah.
that's about design, and furthermore, bugs change from patch to patch. In 2 or 3 months, the video will still be relevant, but the discussion on bugs will be completely
Yeah,
irrelevant.
same
And in
here.
fact,
I'm
it could be
fixing
kind
to
of
start
destructive
school
if
in a
I'm
couple
telling
of
people to avoid
days.
an issue
Trying to
that
get
no
some
longer
streaming
exists
in
into
before I
Star
become
Citizen
a
in more negative
locked
light than it
in
should be.
person.
So it's quite the conundrum. Now, I know I probably shouldn't feel personally responsible for people spending money on Star Citizen because of my
My
videos,
camera
but I can't
working?
help it. I want to represent you guys.
Sorry, I was
and
making sure
make
the
you're
camera was
getting a good
working.
experience if I'm making
I've
a
been
video
having
that
really
sells you
bad
on the
luck
game,
with
which, again,
certain
that's not my
cameras.
intention. I'm not being paid by CIG to sell anything to anybody. CIG has never paid me a dime to make a video on Star Citizen to get you guys to buy anything. I'm here making videos because I like making videos on Star Citizen. It's a subject I care about. But I've ranted long enough. I think this has gotten my point across, or at least I hope it has. If you guys have any questions, if you didn't understand something, please let me know down in the comment section. I will be replying to you guys as much as I can. But otherwise, I'm moving this week to a new house in Taiwan. Not moving back to the US, sorry guys. So I'm going to be down for just a little bit before I move. And once I get back up, I'm looking forward to showing you guys the new room, the new studio. It's really, really cool. So I'll see you guys on the flip side.
Yeah, no worries, son of son. I understand, man. When you're busy, you gotta take care of that work, man. You know? Totally understand that. That's for sure.
Take those Nova tanks. And use
Yeah,
that or
before I
something like
forget,
that.
this is how I wanted to show people. One more time while I got some people. This got added into the early PTU build of this patch. PGR caught this. Fire extinguishers.
Wait, did they put fire extinguishers?
Spread the word.
Do you know that they have fire extinguishers in our... Yo! What? There's fire extinguishers now.
Oh,
What?
yeah, I tried to interact with them, but they're not interactable. Polaris has them, I think. All over the place.
Yeah, I have one in my hands right now.
Oh, you're able to work with...
It's in
I
my
couldn't interact
inventory.
with mine.
It's in the inventory. Maybe they give it to us somehow, but it's just not working.
Never noticed that.
Yeah. Can't wait, man. That means the very next major patch, engineering with fire. Can't wait. That's really cool though. Just randomly saw him, like, what the heck is that? That's cool, man. That's really cool. Cool. And then you can attach it as your weapon, as a weapon slot. That's cool.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured I'd show you guys that. That
Take
was...
those Nova-
See, this... They said nothing about that stuff, yeah. Oh, this guy is PGR. he apparently fire extinguishers, Dark Side, have made it into the game. Fire extinguishers, you know, from the fire and heat stuff, you know, and stuff. Yeah, for those of you who are wondering why we're talking about fire extinguishers in Star Citizen, there's a whole like video or something or another that it was several months back. Star Citizen was talking about it, and let me see. It's like heat or something. The heat is on, something like that, right, Darksided? Playing with fire. Watch this.
Last week, we explored some of the new adventures available to players in space in the upcoming Alpha 4.0. But there are even more dangers to be found within your spacecraft and vehicles. Fire is blazing a trail towards its awaited debut in the persistent universe. And while we don't want to burn any bridges with the resource management team,
Burn any
jump
images.
out of the fire and into their frying pan in just a few weeks, wow, I really bet their ears are burning.
Stop.
We're fired up
Stop,
again to
Jared.
give our arsonists a
Stop,
chance to
Jared.
set the world on fire this week, or at least just the interior of spaceships, because we don't want
Jared,
them to burn
stop.
themselves out. Playing with fire. I'm out of idioms now. I'm gonna go see if I can add more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, thank you for fire.
In 4.0, we'll have fire inside of ships. For our initial rollout, we didn't really want players to start fires everywhere. The poor surface, they really wouldn't be able to handle it, so we decided to focus on the interior of ships. They're smaller, more contained, and more controlled. Fire is tightly integrated with the resource network system and a great fit for a first release within the spaceships, where resource network will be focusing on as many ships as we can. Starting a fire is based on damage, and like different kinds of damage.
Fires can be caused
Oh.
by ship items when they hit 0 health. There are also ways for ship items to cause fires in the normal running and operation of them. We're currently looking at making it so that when they misfire and they have the highest level of wear, that there is a chance that they can also cause fires.
But other types of damage, like impacts from weapons or explosions, they could also ignite a fire. Another way to start a fire is getting the environment hot enough to actually get your surfaces to auto-combust. For example, if you open up your door on a really, really hot planet and the hot air starts to flow into your ship, then if that air is hot enough, and some surfaces might start igniting from that.
Seriously? I could open my door and my ship might catch fire?
You would need a room to reach, I think it's like 1,000 Kelvin for those materials to start to smoke.
So it's something that's technically possible, but it's not likely.
If the planet is warm enough, yes.
Is there a planet warm enough to do that right now?
I don't think so.
Okay, I just want to be sure. You're saying systemically it's possible.
Systemically as possible, yeah.
Okay.
It's technically possible, but very unlikely.
Don't worry, everybody.
Don't worry, everybody. I love that.
Part of the fire hazard system propagation is based on the fire triangle, which
Hang on, let me see.
is oxygen, fuel, and temperature. Oxygen is tracked by the room system. The atmosphere, that is, most rooms in the universe have their atmosphere tracked, including oxygen. The fuels, they will be tracked on the surfaces, so every surface in the universe is marked up with a surface type. That surface type has different properties for fire propagation to work. The heat that is usually from a ignition source is the damage that could happen, but also if you have an object already on fire, that could start a fire again based on the heat that that fire is emitting. Fire will start small if you have a small ignition point, so it will not start blazing immediately, so it will start propagating quite slowly. But if you leave it untended, then the fire will start growing, and the more it grows, the faster the propagation will happen and the larger the fire will get.
It's quite complicated to have a control over that much energy, heat. It's a balance. I think that's the hardest thing to get, having the balance, having the fire texture that works well with the particle behavior, with the heat, the sparks. You need to have the whole feeling of heat and danger.
Oh,
And
whoops.
it's when you get this spot,
Ah.
it really starts to make you look certainly afraid of it.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, it starts good. Gets good, I would say.
Each of the materials that we have marked up, they have their properties, and we can set a material to be combustible or not. Most surfaces will be combustible. A few exceptions, such as glass, will not be. But the ones that are, especially in ships, we decided to go for a more tech approach. So even if metal itself will not easily combust, we assume that behind that metal there will be pipes and cables that can catch fire based on the properties that each surface type has. For example, wood will burn different from rubber or plastic or metal. So the propagation between those will interact differently. Don't worry, like not everything will catch fire at the same time. We have these different properties that will cause different surfaces to catch fire at different times.
You have to think of the other things that can also catch fire. Things like your cargo, which you probably don't want to catch fire because if it burns out, you will lose it. Other things might be loose ship items that you have laying around just in case you want to repair your ship.
The player itself will not be able to catch fire, but the player will feel the influences of fire in their environment. So if you step into the fire, then you will take damage. If you are near to the fire, you will feel the heat, so your actor status will start showing up with like higher temperatures. If the fire is not managed properly, for example, your life support can't feed in enough oxygen, then oxygen will be drained and your player will start to asphyxiate.
Why can't I set people on fire?
Tech.
Will you commit here and now that someday we'll set people on fire?
I will commit to nothing.
I tried, everybody.
People will have different ways of setting fires to ships, hopefully other people's ships, not your own.
This is going to
It is
be
important to know for
PvP and
4.0
piracy's
that we will
dream.
not have fire outside of ships. So if you set fire to an item inside one ship, you can bring it to
Chad,
another
this is
ship,
gonna
given
be
that the
A
medium that
griefer's
you're
dream.
traveling through
They
has
won't
enough
even need to
oxygen
stay
sustain the fire.
in your ship.
You can set fire by damaging items in the ship, so shooting them when an item dies, that has a chance to set fire. Other ways to set fire are bringing in ignited items and placing them in someone else's ship. One of the biggest challenges that we recently had with fire was the networking, and Francesco has done a really, really amazing job with getting that ready.
The presence or absence of fire is a very, very important thing to convey to players. You don't want a player stepping into a thing that doesn't look like it's burning or avoiding a thing that looks like it's burning. Synchronizing fire was a very important part of making sure that the thing should function correctly, and we have a lot of data that fire generates, and a lot of data doesn't work well over networks. There was a lot of work being put into relying as much as possible on the fact that our fire system is stable, it's deterministic, it will always do the same thing given the same initial parameters. There were a lot of cases. There were cases of players joining in late. They obviously don't get where the fire was 3 hours ago. They just see now. They need to know where it is now. There's players who have really bad internet connectivity or servers struggling a lot, situations that bring a halt to the continuous progress of fire from one end or the other, and we need to reconcile that. So we needed a way to know when fire was no longer suitably similar between what the player was seeing and what the server thought was there, and refresh it at that point, and minimize how much data we needed to refresh it at that point. We are pretty happy with the way it works now. We have it so that it sends as little data as possible to sort of create these summarized states for the client and server, and only when these differ enough do we actually send that relatively big, still compressed, but relatively big snapshot to synchronize everything back together.
A fire that is left unchecked will spread throughout your ship. And if it does this and it reaches your ship components,
System is offline.
then you'll be having a very bad day. And this could lead to your ship being both crippled or destroyed. So this means you will be able to put out fires using a fire extinguisher. Where possible, we have made sure that fire extinguishers are
Here it
readily
is.
available throughout our ships.
Fire extinguishers,
The
chat.
extinguishers, they're very simple to use. They are point and shoot. You have to be careful that you don't start flailing wildly with your extinguisher. If you have to aim at the base of your fire and then keep it there to cool down the surface and take away enough of the heat and the oxygen so that the fire calms down. There will be a temperature readout where you can see how strong the fire is still where you're aiming.
And you need to keep your finger on the trigger until it actually goes out. Fires can just be smoking there, and technically it's very close to being on fire. So you really do want to make sure it's really out before you move on. Because if you just leave them smoking and then go wandering off, there's a good chance it will heat up again and catch fire again. It's worth knowing that a fire extinguisher has a limited amount of ammo within it. To your benefit, you can also take your fire extinguishers back to where they are stored, plug them in, and then they will recharge their ammo. However, it is important to know that if your ship doesn't have a functioning life support at this moment, the recharge will not work.
If you
Oh.
leave the fire completely untended, then your ship can completely burn out, so it will be look
Hang on,
completely
chat.
black. If the life support can keep up providing enough oxygen, then it will just keep going until all of the fuel that is the surfaces has been burnt out. Or if the life support is not running, then your fire will start to diminish. But if you don't do anything, the life support will keep feeding in oxygen enough for the fire to be sustained and start spreading everywhere.
You don't want people to put fires out?
No, I want them to die in a fire.
The views and opinions of Leo do not represent those of Platinum Premium Games, Private Space Industries, or its
What did he say?
Enough for the fire to be sustained and start spreading everywhere.
You don't want people to put fires out?
No, I want them to die in a fire.
Evil!
The views and opinions of Leo do not represent those of Platinum Premium Games, Private Space Industries, or its
Demon! Run away! Run away!
There are more ways to
That was kind of funny.
extinguish fire with the life support.
That was
and
kind of
with the
hilarious.
You can
I will
cut
admit.
power to your life support for a room, and that means that there will be no more oxygen provided, which means that the fire itself will start using up all the oxygen, and it will extinguish slowly by itself. Another way is to open up your doors to open space, and that will mean that all of the atmosphere is being sucked out into open space, and again, no more oxygen for your fire to continue. After a fire, you can repair your items or replace them. Fire can damage your interior of your spaceship. We have some very beautiful burn decals that Francesco and Guillaume have been working on to show you where your ship has been burnt. The visual damage to the surfaces is not something you can repair manually, but you can go to a repair station and repair your.
Well, yeah,
ship
burns
there,
it
and that
quite a
will
bit.
get rid of all of the
I would think.
visual burn.
But if I want to leave it burned because it looks cool, I can do that?
You can do that. It persists. I'm very happy with the current progress. It's been a very long road for the team to get to this point. It's amazing to finally be able to roll this out to the players.
It's amazing to work with. It's just so fun, and the results are very good and very quick. So
I'm looking forward to to see what people will do with it, like what kind of weird.
Oh,
edge cases
grievers are
they'll
gonna
find,
love this.
and
I mean,
what
all they
we'll
have to do
fix up.
is
But
throw
it's
something
kind
burning
of
into your
the servers
cargo
don't
bay.
die because of fire, and I
Then
think
burn.
we will be able to do that.
Flames, much flames. Poor Mr. Pigo.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned where and how fire will make its first appearances in the persistent universe. In your spaceships. How it'll spread and the dangers of leaving it unchecked.
I wonder if we'll have things like forest fires and
And both
stuff.
how you'll put them out or potentially spread the fire to other vehicles. And I'm banking y'all might find some ways that we missed. Now don't forget the ship showdown is still underway. It's your chance to vote on which vehicles you like best, as well as send John Crew messages on social media that he legally has to respond to during this time.
Hi all, David here. The only thing I have to say about this is no. Just no.
No.
Our program will now conclude.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared
No,
Huckabee. Thanks
just
for letting us share
no.
the people and process of game development
Our
with you.
program
and
will
we'll see you all
include
here
here.
next week. It's time to go Pyro Planet side.
How do you start a fire? First, you contact
Okay.
ATC.
yeah, I could start with that. That would be good. I could say that. You want me to do that? Well, first of all, you start. Yeah, you call the ATC and they set fire to your ship.
Oh, dear Lord. That's funny, chat. Anyways, who in chat has encountered those fire extinguishers? I've not seen them at all. Anyone encountered them before? Because apparently, according to PGR, they're everywhere. Everywhere and anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, but what I mean is deployable, chill. They've actually been you can pull them out. They're actually a pull-outable item now, which is super awesome. I didn't even know they were implemented that far, you know? No idea. Super cool when they start doing stuff like that out of nowhere. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't because it's so new. Yeah. Let's see if we might be getting some new creatures.
Cows. Space cows.
Now, did they talk about any other critters? This is 4 months ago. They mentioned some more creatures somewhere. It wasn't 4 months ago, it was recent. I want to say CitizenCon. Captain. No. Not that one. Yon Pyro. I think it's this one either. No. Creatures. There we go.
The Valakar is very exciting, but I also want to share with you the bigger picture for creatures. So let's start with some Valakar variants. Variants so far have typically just had alterations to their loot and appearance. However, we want to go further with what variants can be. For example, what if the Valakar evolved and grew in a swamp environment instead of a desert planet? Or if a Valakar never
thing
made it
looks
to
like the stuff of
surface and only lived in
nightmares.
drowned caves. These are the kind of questions that make sci-fi one of the best mediums. And I can hear the questions already. What does an adult cave Valakar look like? What does an apex Quasi-Grazer look like? Well, it's these questions that get everyone excited that works on creatures to give you a glimpse into the big picture. All of these variances and differences and new creatures make up what we call our fauna matrix. The fauna matrix is basically our creature encyclopedia. So these concepts should show you that we want to get more weird and wonderful with our creatures. We've started off with more traditional animal references like dogs and birds and cows. But now we're in a position to create the things that we love about sci-fi, which is the weird and the unknown. So looking at where we're going, all of our creatures have been defined for the road to 1.0. We've ensured we've got a rich, diverse, distinct roster of creatures.
Yeah, those things are going to be dangerous,
As
Chill.
well, as concealing the unique elements of various planets, ensuring that they're populated with appropriate creatures. We've been designing creatures in mind so that planets' ecosystems influence their behaviors, designs, aesthetics, and harvestables. With that being said, I would like to give you a sneak peek at our fauna matrix. That's all from me. I'm very happy to be bringing the Valakar to all of our backers. It's really like nothing else you've played before. I'll leave you with this last video. Enjoy the rest of CitizenCon, everybody.
Hey, we just saw this guy, chat. Remember this guy? The Buffalo lookalike guy? Right here. You guys remember that sneak peek a few weeks back or so? This guy is already being worked on. This like buffalo or rhino looking critter. Okay, so we have the Valakar, some sort of bird. This looks like a fish human. Hey, Luna Maria. I was just reviewing some stuff from CitizenCon, Luna Maria, and I noticed this guy. Remember this guy in the sneak previews? It's about a month ago. So this guy's already gone from sketch to concept, chat. Sketch to concept. That's really awesome. Marok. This looks like the rat. Here's the rat. I think the gray ones are ones that are more developed. There's the pyro crab, the jump beast. Got some other critters. Here's a rat. This is the floating critter. God, what is it called? The thingamabobber, yeah. Very interesting. I don't know if I've seen that. Chill. That would be really weird if they did. By the way, does anyone else see what looks like an aquatic humanoid here? There's these humanoid looking critters right here. I don't know what this is. This looks like some sort of aquatic humanoid. It has an intelligent look to it. This is a bird. There's the cave Valacar. Apex Cave. But yeah, this buffalo looking guy, I know I've seen him before. Let me see. Where have I seen him before? Okay. Being like links or something? Or leaks, maybe? Something. This critter is at least a month ago. Sorry I'm hung up on this, Chad. It's just... It's this creature right here. It was a sketch. There it is. There he is. Found it. Ah, there it is. So here's the completed critter. And here's the sketch. It looks like this, though, might be a variation between this one and the one I just showed you. Because if you look at this, this has got more. There's this looks like a woolly version, and this version doesn't have any fur on it, or at least not that I could see. But the shape is the same. So this is like the Arctic version, and this is more like the desert, I guess, or savanna. What do you think, Dark Side? Fairly similar kind of guess? Because the resemblance is uncanny. This looks like the desert or some sort of savanna version of the creature. Whereas in the preview, this is the Arctic or like winter, you know, the tundral version. That's my guess. Pretty cool, though. I mean, Pyro Crab, Jump Beast, Cave Critter, Cave Bad Guy, Apex Cave Valakar, our friend with the big prong nose. That is true. I mean, yeah, you got a point. One is basically a pencil drawing with no detail. Yeah, you got a point. That is true. Guess we'll have to see closer to release. True. Definitely. So I'm seeing the jungle. Okay. Here's the jungle Apex Valakar, the desert Valakar, the cave Alpha Apex Valakar. So we have 3 Valakars here. 1, 2, 3. Right. It is kind of hard to tell with just drawing. Be much nicer if some of them had some shading or some sort of detail, I guess is the word. Detail. That would be nice. Looking for some. What's going on RSI? Probably nothing. Which is fair, Luna. They have to adjust, you know, like most anything. Even the original art for the, you know, the desert, whatever, doesn't look the same. So that's fair. Fair comment, yeah. This is something I had in mind for a new commodity. I posted this back in September. It's only got 6 comments, like water, methane, nitrogen, other ices will probably be used in industry. It's just a fun little post, you know, commenting about, you know, industrial stuff. Yeah, it's Right. This post I made back in September, I think is pretty valid, because at some point we're going to have to go out and get more than just solid metals and material resources. At some point, we're going to also have to go after ices and liquids. Things like water, methane, nitrogen, and other frozen volatiles. Hydrogen, nice too. All right. If they would bring back FrontierNet, I might, or whatever they were doing, whatever I was doing, I might give them another chance, but I haven't played Elite in probably 4 years now. Kind of sad. I'm basically waiting on next patch to before I get heavy back into playing the game. I'm like a lot of people right now. From what I heard, a lot of the bigger streamers. Oh, to answer your question, they had plans, at least I heard, to further improve the on-ground stuff. I'm not sure if that fell through or whatever. I just hadn't heard anything. None of my friends who play Elite has said anything about it. You know, like more expansions to the ground side of the game. Base building, stuff like that, yada yada. Have you heard anything dark-sided along those lines? Nothing concrete, right? And honestly, I think whoever told me that was a load of hooey. I don't think any of that was even promised. I think it was all a bunch of hokum. You know, something that wasn't going to happen. Yeah, I've seen that, and I've been away for a while, so I was curious. How does that actually work? Do you have to establish an outpost in game on a planet, or do you have to bring in like a fleet carrier, or what? I've been away from Elite for a very, very long time. Yeah. And I have heard absolutely nothing regarding the game in years. I'm all ears, man. You tell. Did Obsidian Ant cover it? Because I know nothing about settling system. When I left God, what am I trying to say? I want to say that the ground stuff, the frontiers or whatever stuff, was just starting. Well, tell me, Luna, how does it work? How do you settle a system? Do you have to have a fleet carrier in the system permanently? Or do you set up a base or point on the planet? How does it work? Ask a question. You know what? I think I will. Does Obsidian Ant have a video on it? You know, Dark Side? I cannot spell for the love of me tonight. Okay, it's about a month ago. Looks like I did watch it. Let's watch it.
Player colonization of star systems in Elite Dangerous. Now, that's something I always hope to say when it comes to this game, but it's something I didn't expect to say anytime soon. Now, the specifics on this, on exactly how it's going to work, are a little bit vague at the moment. We'll get more details, I'm sure, in the coming weeks, but I do have plenty of information on this to share with you right now, so do stick around for that. And just to be absolutely clear on this, Frontier have stated that everything mentioned here is a work in progress, which means it's possible it is subject to change, or there may be some variations on this. This then is a part of the next big update for Elite Dangerous. It will mean that players will be able to expand the bubble, expand into new star systems, as well as direct the construction of brand new space stations and much more. Additionally, a brand new ship is coming. This is the Cobra Mark V, and I'll be able to discuss this as well throughout this video. So,
actually looks okay.
This is
Cobra
a new
Mark
system
V.
then. Frontier Abilin has the ability to allow player-led freeform expansion in the galaxy. They say the bubble is no longer going to be static. How does it work? Well, there's a few different points here. Players are going to be able to colonize unpopulated systems, and these will be star systems that players themselves have found. So once players have found a suitable system, what constitutes a suitable system, I'm not sure. It may need certain requirements, or it could perhaps indeed be any type of system, but at any rate, once players have that system, and Frontier say they'll be explaining the mechanics of this later on next month, players will have the ability to establish a starport here. Look at this new starport as an anchor into the newly colonized system, the entry point, the point of origin from which everything else will be constructed. Now, after this starport has been constructed, after it's been fully built, players will have the choice to expand the system further. This means placing additional starports, facilities, settlements, and even stations, and this can be done as players see fit. So when asked Frontier for some further clarification on exactly how this works, they reiterated that more details will be coming next month, but they did use the term system architects, and by this they meant players. Players will indeed themselves be able to direct specifically where stations and all the other starports and services are going to be located in these new colonized systems. Obviously, this is a truly massive change for Elite Dangerous. It represents a completely different dynamic for the game that hasn't been in this game previously before in any form whatsoever. So, whilst I think it's important to mention that this, on the surface at least, doesn't appear to be full-on base building in the sense where you go out and gather resources and build the bases yourself, and I'm not saying it's not that, I'm just saying that I haven't got any details to say it is that. What we know for sure is that this will give players the ability to design and architect their very own star systems in the terms of the services and facilities that reside within that system.
I would also presume they could initiate trade between other players in the same region and make their own little micro empires or unions or republics or whatnot, you know, in the region. Does that sound about right, Dark-Sided? It's like a small scale version of... Yeah, I'm watching the old video first, and then we're going to go to the new video.
It's also worth mentioning that Frontier have said that doing this, all these things, will allow the players to dictate the economy of the star system they've colonized. So, what does that mean? Does it mean you can have one single star system? Well, no. It turns out you can actually have more than one star system. So Frontier have said that in order to do that, you need to have completed at least the primary starport in your current system. Once you've done that, you'll be able to further expand the existing star system or then claim another one instead or in addition to. So they say, and this is an example they've put here in the details I've been sent, they said in theory you could daisy chain systems to reach a destination. You could even make your very own Colonia bridge. Now that's pretty interesting. Obviously, I'd imagine that's perhaps on the excessive side. Maybe that would take very, very long time because Frontier haven't mentioned the distances needed between the different star systems, whether it's just a single digit light years, double digit light years or more. There is a distance restriction on how far out you can colonize from the main bubble. Again, this is a detail that they'll be clarifying a little bit later on. And this is largely because everything we're discussing here is a work in progress. It means that it's quite possible that some of this will shift and change as we get closer to the release of this particular system. But it's also very clear to me that Frontier are pretty confident in all the details they've released so far that, well, this is very likely to be the way that things are going to shape up. So as I've been talking, you've seen a few images, static images, screenshots that I've shown you that are from this new colonization system. Let's show them again, and this time we'll talk through them. So right here, we've got the system colonization ship. And this ship is the ship that arrives as a part of the colonization process. Obviously, all the people and all the resources are going to need to be shipped in order for the colonization to take place. And that is the job of this ship right here. It is a new ship, something we haven't seen specifically in Elite before. So that's a nice touch, to say the least. And then we've got some other details here, which is the space depot that is a part of the system colonization process. Now, whilst those of you who are very familiar with Elite will no doubt recognise many of the assets used in these starport and ship models, they still represent nonetheless entirely new types of stations and ships, so that is something I'm really pleased to see. I think this is going to be a really good addition for the game. Now, for those of you who have been listening to the information about Elite Dangerous Ascendancy, that's the Power Play 2 update, you may be wondering, how is Power Play 2 going to interact with this whole colonization system? Are they completely separate systems, or are they somehow going to be working together? Well, it turns out that players could expand Power's territory by colonizing systems and then pushing those particular powers into that system they've colonized themselves. So that would work somewhat like this. A player locates a star system. They then initiate colonization of that star system by a process that hasn't yet been detailed. Once that system reaches a certain level of facilities within inside of it, the Power Play 2 system could then be used to expand factions and other powers into that particular or newly colonized star system. Also, Frontier say that the system will have a value, and this will be based on how you might go about the system colonization process. What do Frontier mean about value? Do they mean its economic value? Do they mean its value in terms of power play? Well, this is something Frontier have said they're going to go into more details in the future. Ultimately then, Frontier are very keen to stress and emphasize that colonization, along with Power Play 2, is a part of their ambitions to change the focus of Elite Dangerous and make it so that players have a lot more control and a lot more direction over the narrative of the galaxy itself. I really do think that Power Play 2 did provide a few hints that Frontier are changing their tact and directions with Elite Dangerous in the terms of putting a lot more power into the hands of the players, and colonization really does underscore that and prove that yes, this is indeed the direction they're heading in. So really nice stuff, long time coming, and I'm glad to see that this is, well, that it actually is happening. Now moving on, we come to the brand new ship. This is going to be the Cobra Mark V. So that's a bit of a surprise right there, isn't it? Wasn't expecting to see another Cobra. Frontier said the reason they're going for this particular ship, I think, well, obviously the Cobra itself is a very iconic ship when it comes to Elite. Alongside the Sidewinder, I'd say that the Cobra is perhaps one of the most recognizable ships, if not the most recognizable ships when it comes to the Elite franchise. Now, Frontier haven't given the exact specifications for the ship just yet, but we do know that it is going to be a medium-sized ship. We also know that it's got a slightly different design. If we look at the images here, we can see that the outline, the overall profile of the ship is, while still recognizable as a Cobra, is quite distinct from the other versions and the other variants. Another thing we can see here is that Frontier are going for an entirely new cockpit. This is a 3-person cockpit, and yeah, it positions the pilot right in the front and center and gives 2 additional multi-crew positions so that you can take friends along with you. The size of the windows at the front, the canopy, also suggests that this version of the Cobra, the Mark V, is very likely going to have better visibility than the other previous variants. So yeah, another thing that's really nice to see. Unlike with the other ships that have been released recently, which were all very much specialised on different activities, the Cobra Mark V instead is going to be a very good all-rounder, and it should have the necessary stats, the overall specification to reflect that fact. Something, again, we'll be seeing in future weeks. So there we have it. That is the latest situation with Elite Dangerous, and I think arguably this is perhaps the biggest news we've had for Elite Dangerous since the days of Odyssey being announced. I don't really want to oversell this, but ultimately putting such control directly in the hands of players is very much a big deal. I'm very looking forward to seeing how all of this plays out, how the mechanics of this are going to be used. Obviously, that is something we don't have details on just yet.
Okay,
I think it's fair to point out that at this point, this is the
there's an Elite Dangerous channel
used to build excitement around their
yeah, I'm gonna
heroes.
probably
Give
switch
a
over
few
to that here in
details
a minute.
initially, and then flesh them out over the coming weeks. For now,
So let's pause this. Q&A. Over Mark 5.
I'm here with the wonderful Piers Jackson. Hello, Piers. It's been a hot minute since we've been on a sofa chatting like this.
It's been a while, actually. Probably a bit too long.
Yeah, too long. So for people that don't know who you are, what do you do?
I'm Piers, and I'm the game director on Elite Dangerous.
Nice. Well, look, it's been a busy year for Elite Dangerous this year. We are going to talk about system colonisation.
Yes,
but before we get there, how's the year been for yourself and the team, I guess?
It's been fantastic and terrifying in equal amounts. It's been very, very busy. We set out with some pretty big objectives for the year, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, let's start on the fact we were going to start new ships.
Yep.
We've had 3 new ships.
Yeah.
We've got 4,
Yes.
1 in development. We're flying around in that at the minute. It's a fantastic ship, so we're looking forward to releasing that. But that's pretty big news.
Yeah.
Things weren't going very well for humanity at
Not
the start of the year. No, things were pretty bad. It was looking bleak. But
I think Plato said it best. He said we were getting a kick in at the
yes,
start. Yeah.
quite a royal kicking with 8 feet at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was going pretty badly for humanity, but that got kind of turned around as the year went on, and you know we were getting towards, dare I say, the end, or something nearing the end.
Nearing the end.
Yeah, maybe that final Titan. What's it going to do?
I don't know. Everyone's very confident. They've been just sort of laying into the like. There was a moment when the first Titan went down, which was a great moment to watch.
Yep.
And you could tell that, you know, like our players, and we love them to pieces, but there's a confidence that grew with them. And then the second Titan went, and the third, and the fourth. A lot of confidence in our players about the Thargoids and just giving them the good news. But only 1 Titan left.
There's only 1 Titan left. What could it do? Could it just be going to run away?
I mean, I would. If I was, I'd be off. I'd be on me.
Why would they let them run away?
But and it's always interesting to know whether how the Titans and the Thargoids in general are thinking. You know, we're applying a lot of
human logic to them.
Human logic over what their goals of the war have been and how well it's been going for them.
Well, I'm sure. Look, humanity. I say we. I mean, I've kept myself out of the fight so far. Thus far, I've kept myself out of the fight. But I think we'll find out soon enough because you know we are taking the war to the final Titan. It's pretty worthwhile. You know, just keep an eye on that. I would say for players, just to keep a close eye on what's going on. So yeah, the war has progressed. It's been a long one as well. Like I want to say 2 years nearly.
We've been going at this for about 2 years now, and obviously the plan dates back probably the best part of a year before that. So from us, it's a big undertaking. You know, it's a full procedural war. You know, we've let the players play this through. You know, we've had key events in there, but this has been Very much a player-led initiative,
Yeah.
and that's been a big mantra for the year in total. Actually, with some of the other features we've been looking at, bringing Power Play online.
Yes.
Again, kind of putting the emphasis on the players' hands for the narrative to be something that players are generating, and the actions and activities they're doing. I use the phrase leaving kind of scars on the galaxy.
It's a really cool phrase though, but it makes sense.
So the narrative elements of the husks of Titan still being left behind, the end of the Salvation finale, that's still there, and now we've got players who are actively changing the shape and nature of the galaxy with Power Play.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. I think we discuss this a lot, sort of behind closed doors, about how we love telling stories, and we do love telling stories. But the most effective stories, ones that players create their own, when they create their own narrative and they push stories and player-driven stuff, and creating the tools for them to be able to do that on a galactic level is no small task. And I think Power Play is the first step, and we're seeing it's a huge mechanic. At first glance, it's Power Play 2.0, but it's a galaxy-wide mechanic, right? So how's it been going for the team seeing it in play now? Because it's great testing it, but when you put it out into an actual galaxy, things change, right?
No, it's been great. It's been a big undertaking. The goal with Power Play really was to take a system that wasn't being used very much and bring it back into the core game loops, so that everything that players are currently doing in the game would feed into Power Play. So if you want to be a trader, you can do Power Play as a trader. If you want to do combat, etc., etc. That's a lot of intertwined systems. There's an awful lot of code and server networking stuff to unpick in there. So, that went live just over 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, I think so.
Our player base has always did a fantastic job of finding the odd exploit here and there. So we had our usual whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole scenario of trying to get the game back into a point where it's balanced for everyone, so that we didn't have this is a golden path, you must undertake that route to do it, otherwise you're wasting your time. So we've got that into a reasonable position now, and that's why we also took the opportunity, after watching 2 weeks worth of data, to do the rebalancing on the merit awards, just to give people an accelerant. It's always really, really difficult when you're putting the designs of these things together to understand just how much effort certain things take, and the time loops and the time loops in Elite are long. So it's always a case of we have to go and usually a little bit high and then balance down. So hopefully we're in a better place on that now.
And I think that's one of the things, and we'll talk more about this as well going forward, because it's sort of an edict that sort of flows through everything that we're doing sort of this year and then into next. But I think we saw it with the engineering rebalance, right? So we do actually value players' time, and it's very important to us that they spend time playing the game. So that's something that's super important to us. And again, with Power Play, we don't want it to become excessive, but we do want it to be a challenge. We do want it to be worthwhile. We want it to give perhaps guidance to maybe new players, like who come in and they want something to, like, a bit more structure to how they play the game. I think one of the things I've always suggested is, if you're new to Elite, maybe pledge to a power straight away, do those initial missions, because then it gives you something to do. Other players just go out into the galaxy and just become mavericks, do whatever they want to do. But I've found a bit of structure with Power Play is better, but finding that balance between time and effort is super important to us.
Yes, and do those initial missions. Otherwise, you are not going to be on the Power Play ladder.
We actually watching the stats. We're seeing people doing so much stuff in Power Play, but you haven't done the initial mission, so you're not going to rank up.
You need to consolidate your pledge. Just on the player time issue, that has been a pillar for us this year.
Yes.
We've been really mindful of some of the more grindy elements of Elite. So as you mentioned, we went back and had a good dig through everything on engineering, both space and on foot from Odyssey. I think that's in a better place now. We certainly seem to be quite happy with it. The SCO was obviously another major play that we brought in very early on. We wanted to bring that in through the narrative of Thargoid technology, but to allow players just to get out of those gravity wells, make the journey time just that bit shorter, so that you can get to the activities you want to do. But also, we don't want to compress the galaxy to a point where travel in Elite is irrelevant. It's still a big.
It still has to be a challenge, right?
It's a very fine balance, but being mindful of time has been something we've all been looking at this year.
And in the benefit of being mindful of time, let's move on to system colonization. I've been waiting for this. So system colonization is another galaxy-wide, I guess, mechanic, because players can engage in this and really shape the galaxy. What was the thought process behind system colonization? Like, what's the idea behind this in general?
So this of all the things in Elite, from a personal point of view, this is the thing I've wanted to do most of all. So really, this is the expansion of the bubble. So we've now allowed the bubble to be much more dynamic in terms of what's happening with Power Play. But this is about growing the bubble, whether that be just making it bigger or
shooting off,
building little roads out into the distance so you can colonize new areas. It's allowing our players to create Colonia 2, or frankly do whatever they want with it. It's giving the keys to the galaxy back to people and allowing them to develop their own narrative.
Again, it's back to that whole idea about this is now.
You can definitely see
this is
whole
a huge
groups of
moment. Like,
people.
Make no mistake, this is a
doing it.
huge undertaking. So when we talk about system colonization, this is literally saying, here is the mechanics of the galaxy. It's yours now to shape however you want to shape it, and do what you're going to do with it. But it's go out and like expand the bubble, expand the chosen power if you want to do that as well. Or just build bridges out into the deepest parts of the galaxy
It's
and
going
see how far
to
you
be
can
a
go.
really interesting social experiment.
Yes.
And we don't know what the outcome of it will be.
No,
so-
like I say, I've said this. I've been here now for 4 years, and I've played Elite prior to that. I've always marvelled at it. We create tools expecting players to do one thing, and they do the exact opposite to what we plan to do. So this will be no different. So let's get to the juicy stuff. So talk me through, if you will, the flow. I mean, we'll have some footage that will come over this. We'll show you some stuff of system colonization. How does a player go about colonizing a system?
So the opening part of system colonization always begins with a claim.
Right.
And you will make a claim from a new contact, system colonization contact.
Very Ronsil, does what it says in the tin.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
easy to find.
Yeah.
And you will find those in inhabited systems in the bubble.
Yep.
We're going to start with the bubble, and we'll see how things go from there. So you will be able to purchase the claim for credits and pick an uninhabited system within a distance. Currently we're looking at about 10 light years, but within a distance. And if no one else is making a claim on that, you can put a claim down for it. That will load you up with a colonization navigation beacon, and you will have 24 hours to travel to the claim system and deploy that colonization beacon. That will begin your claim. If you don't do it within 24 hours, then it reverts, and we need to do that to stop people blocking systems. And you can only do one of these at a time. So we want to give people the opportunity to do this, but not to start blocking other people from playing the game. As part of that process, you will be able to select your primary starport. They will all be spaceports of some type for the primary one, and the location will already be predetermined on the target system. A colonization ship will arrive. I'm sure we've got some pretty cool footage of
this will be playing now on screen. This is a big ship.
This is huge. This is probably one of the largest vessels we've got in the game. I mean, it's very, very big. It has a lot of very, very
Baseball.
large landing pads.
Here it comes.
Why would you need large landing pads, Piers?
It has one very specific function, which is to receive goods from ships. So the construction effort for each of the stations will have a different construction. It's a shopping list, if you want.
Of materials that you need, right?
Of materials. And the materials will vary depending on what you're building. But obviously, bulk construction materials are going to be the largest
It's going to
amount.
be a bit of metal.
And then whether you need computers or whether you need Levy and Brandy or whatever it is, that comes afterwards. If you're
you know
building,
what station I'm building.
I know exactly where you're going. So the list appears, the construction ship arrives, and you and any other player can deliver goods to that colonization ship. And when the list is complete, it will be deployed. The new port will be deployed. This initially for the spaceports, they will be in an under construction phase. They will be there. They will look like an airport terminal that's not quite finished. So
Oh, I do too, Luna. This actually looks fun. Something to do in between Star Citizen patches. I have a region I want to go. It's in the Canopus region. It's still in the bubble, but it's out toward Guardian space. You know where I'm talking about? Yeah, that's that region. Y'all know where I'm talking about, right? Because then I can just load up artifacts or have a home base in the Canopus region. Maybe not super remote, but yeah. That's
a reduced functionality set there, and then on the Thursday it will spin up and be deployed into orbit.
Nice. Cool. So now you've got your starport. Colonization ship, what is that? That goes away now?
So that will disappear after a period of time. It'll be there for a while, but it doesn't really serve any purpose, but it'll be in the scene at the same point as the space station.
So now I have my starport. What are my choices now that I've got a starport? Can I colonize the system? Can I move on from the system? What's the options?
So two things that will happen once the primary starport goes down, and you must complete this within a period of time as well.
Yes, that's important, right? Yeah. So
and the primary starport is a special case. There's a time limit on that, again, to stop the process becoming blocked. So you have to complete it within a period of time. It has an inherent cost, and it also will have some infrastructure cost for what comes afterwards. So the primary one costs you a bit more in terms of effort. Once it's complete, though, two things happen. The colonization beacon becomes a proper nav beacon. So that's the kind of the law step of why these systems have nav beacons in. And more importantly, I guess from a colonization point of view, the new contact will appear on that space station.
Now we can do, if we want to go move on beyond that.
Oh, it's outside the core.
So
it's outside the core. I forgot.
System, if you want, or daisy chain, as you say, build roads out into the black. And that is the point why we have to say you must complete these things before moving on.
I think it's good to point out that the primary starport, or colonization in itself, is a big undertaking. If you're doing this as a single player, as a group, this is no mean feat, right? I mean, I know we've had fleet carriers in the past, we can accumulate credits, but this is actually you have to play the game, you have to deliver the resources, you have to build this starport, and then if you want to move on, you can do. And I know people have really sort of mentioned about doing.
Yeah, I caught that, Luna. I goofed.
And that's great, but that is to be really difficult because you will have to get the resources all the way out. And if you're not colonizing systems before then, it's going to be hard to get that resource and then bring it out, right?
Yeah, and I mean, so you're right. There's a lot of effort involved in this, and the resource chain is a really interesting part of this whole puzzle. In terms of the effort it takes, that's something we're going to have to do in balancing.
Yes.
So we're going to be working when we deploy this. We'll go out and we will have to spend some time getting it balanced.
I think now's a fair way to announce it. I think what we're going to be doing with system colonization is we're going to be launching into beta. I'm not sure how you say that. I'm going to say beta. Whatever. Tomato. And we'll be doing it early next year. Now, I know we wanted to do this year. But I think when we looked at doing PowerPlay 2.0 and we looked at it's a galaxy-wide mechanic. And there's a lot to tweak, and we're still just adjusting some levers on PowerPlay 2.0, and we want to get it as right as possible when we pop it in. But there is going to be a degree of we won't know until we know of it going out, and so we're going to pop it out. It'll be in beta, but it'll be functional. You'll be able to play it, and there'll be some adjustments we'll be making whilst we gather the data of what players are doing. And again, whilst we did one of it this year, and I did say it will be coming this year, so that's on me. But it will be coming early next year, so we will have it in for you. So you haven't got very long to wait, and we have something in between there and then, anyways, with the Cobra Mark 5 for you to play around with. So you'll be busy. So we've got the system, and the primary starport was in place. If I don't want to move on, say I found the system that I want, and I've got to that system. What can I do when I'm in that system now?
So as the person that's deployed the primary starport, you are now effectively the system architect. This gives you some level of control of the development that can occur in that system. And I think you'll be... The nature of what you do in these systems will depend on the actual system itself. So you can scan these things in advance and find out how many available slots for additional development there are. And so, some systems are probably going to be looking like they're worth more than others, based on the availability of what you can do afterwards.
And that will link into PowerPlay, I'm assuming. So
all of this is completely seamless with PowerPlay. So at the moment the primary starport goes down, you have the basis of a population there, but the system is not controlled by power. So it is subject to PowerPlay rules. However, the faction that you bought the claim from will be brought over. So in terms of the BGS, you can bring your factions into the new system.
Okay, very interesting for players.
Absolutely. So to answer the rest of the question, though, what can I now do with my new system? So we give you a certain number of actions you can deploy in terms of construction sites, and we give you some locations. Now, the way this happens is a little bit different if the facility is in space to if it's on a planet. Let's do a space first. If I go to the system map, I will be able to see all the potential locations for deploying a space facility. That could be another port or any of the facilities that we brought online during Horizons. And you can select those locations, and choose something that's appropriate to be deployed there. That will then summon a construction site, and I think we'll be able to show some of those, some space construction sites. And again, the process of delivering goods to
Begins.
It just
Right.
repeats itself. So you can deliver goods, and once they're finished, that new facility will be deployed.
Yep.
The facilities come in a variety of tiers.
Yep.
So obviously, if you want one of the really big spaceports, an Acellus or something like that, that's going to take a lot of effort. But it also means you need a little bit of supporting economy. So some of the smaller facilities you need to build to unlock the mid-tier ones. You need to build a certain number of mid-tier to unlock the really large-scale ones. This happens on both space and on the planet surface. So these things are interchangeable. When we go down to the planet surface,
I was waiting for this.
It's a little bit different. So this is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
You're going to actually pick the location that you want your surface facility to be, whether that's an Odyssey facility or a full planet port or any of the Horizon facilities. You will be able to fly around, locate where you want it to be.
I think we've got some work in progress footage of this as well.
We do, yeah. And it's super cool. Pick the location, change the orientation, and then that will become where it's deployed. Again, we put a ground-based construction site there. Again,
we have. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm sure if Alec Turner's watching, you can have a look at this, Alec. Tell me what you think of it. But yeah,
all the ground. So we build a ground-based construction facility. Again, people deliver goods there, and that once it's complete, the surface facility appears.
Yep.
Now, all of these things are interlinked in terms of the system economy. So if you're building mining facilities, then the local economy will become a mining economy. Same with agriculture, everything else. Some of the facilities you can put down, maybe adding buffs in terms of population, or they might be reducing your system security level if you're trying to build an anarchy system.
Yep.
So all of these things have an interconnection. The more of an economy you put down, the stronger the economic drive will be. Ports bring in population. Population generates more economic drive. So the bigger the more you build, and the more you focus on what you want to build, the more direct you'll get to the economies you need. Now, why is that important? It could just be important because you want to build your system out and you like it, and you actually want Arfspar to be sitting somewhere.
Would you stop saying bars and Lavian Brandy?
Well,
it's accurate, but you know.
I know you well enough. I know you're going to build that holiday resort with a bar in it somewhere. You might want to just build this out and invite people there. But equally, if you're into more long-range colonisation, you don't want to be coming back to the bubble every time to actually pick these goods up. You're going to want to be coming to, maybe little bubble area.
Neither can I, Dark-Sided. I wonder if it'll let you build things at the edge of the bubble.
Galaxy's going to change. I think we're going to see.
You know, still in the bubble, but like at the edge of the bubble. You get what I'm saying? Like you're still in quote-unquote the bubble. But you're not in the middle of the thick of the bubble. You get what I'm saying, Luna and Dark-Sided? Not in the bubble, middle of the bubble, but still in the bubble, right? So you don't break the rules, but you might be able to start expanding outward a different direction, right? Like for me, I'd go to a system, if I could get a system connection to Canopus, or, start building an arm out toward Canopus, that would make it easier to get Guardian tech. Yeah. Take a while to build, though. Trying to remember exactly how far out.
I think we're going to see certain factions will push the bubble naturally outwards, but I do think we're going to see player-led groups, and you're going to get these daisy chains with like mini bubbles, industrial bubbles, where they're like feeding backwards and forwards, and we're going to see these tendrils just reach out in the deepest parts. That's what I'm most excited for, just to see players how far they're going to go with this. I'm also
they'll do a lot of it. Don't worry about it.
It's going to go all the way out as far as they can. But yeah, this is super exciting stuff, and the placement of the ground facilities when I saw this, because when we obviously I'm very lucky to see some of the stuff sort of way ahead of time. When you said, "Oh, you can just pop it down where you want," I was like, "What?" So you can find that incredible vista.
Excuse me.
You can get your I don't know your tourist settlement if you want to, and you can just spin it around, put it like on a crater's edge with that amazing sunset, and be like, "Bam! That is my facility." And that's there for everyone to, and it's yours. You are the system architect. This all belongs to you, and you can't lose it, right? So the powers might change, but it still belongs to the architect, right?
Yeah, the BGS or the powers may move over the top, but it belongs to the system architect in terms of that person has control over what can be deployed into the system.
Yeah.
But anyone can enter it.
All right, so I've obviously told you what I'm most excited for. What are you most excited for in system colonization?
I'm waiting to see what our players do with colonization in a way that we haven't.
Oh, some of them will come up with some clever stuff.
We think we know, but we don't.
Well, that's kind of the point, really, isn't it? It's power play and colonization. Here you go.
Guaranteed.
Do what you want with it, and we'll see what the outcome is.
All right. Well, we've gone through the process. I think players now understand it. We'll talk more about this in the. I don't know because this has been the last. Yeah, we'll talk more about this before it launches. There will be some questions from players. I think we might actually be worthwhile opening up a forum thread somewhere to see if there's any questions players might want to ask, and we can maybe answer some.
Sure.
We are still working through some of this, though. As we mentioned, there's some stuff we're still working through. So please don't ask for specific numbers because honestly, at the moment, we're still working through them. So we don't have them.
The numbers are very much in flux, and they will be over the next month. So.
Yeah. So Piers, look, it's been great having you on. This has been a fantastic year for Elite Dangerous. Super proud of what we've all achieved as a team. Really enjoyed watching the players take part. I'm very much looking forward to 2025. I'm guess you and the team are as well, right?
Absolutely. It's been a really
Could be interesting to figure out how much of this,
really enjoyed
how this evolved. Okay, that was a month ago. Chat. Oh, a Titan. They made it to Earth.
Zach, welcome to our festive
Thank
set.
you. It's
Spared
very
no
nice.
expense here. We've put out baubles,
Yeah.
some tinsel, and apparently this is Christmas lighting. Producer Adam assures me it's Christmas
Yeah,
lighting.
it almost looks like a red alert, but
It does. Well, look, it's the best we could do. All right. Thanks a lot for coming in. We've got some questions to go through about system colonization. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you actually about the year because it's been a pretty monumental year for Elite Dangerous. How's it been for you?
Yeah, I mean, really special. I think as you guys know, it's the 10th anniversary of Elite, and it feels like the 10th year of Elite has been Elite Dangerous. Sorry, it's been mega. Yeah, there's been so much, compared to where we were last year and coming into this year. We've had a lot of people always say, where are the new ships? That's one thing we've had for quite a long time.
Well,
I know that
they're
me and you have felt that. They're here, and we've just had so much, so it's been great.
Yeah, it's been nice to actually go out and deliver. I know we said like 2 features, and obviously we've missed for one, but it's a pretty big feature to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really energising. I think for not just us, but I think for the development team as well.
100%.
To drop 4 new ships coming in, obviously starting with the Python Mark II, then we have the Taipei, and then the Mandalay, and obviously now the Cobra Mark V's out.
Yeah.
And just to see players engage with it and come back to Elite and engage with the storyline, I guess for me, I think I do love good story. So I think the Titan stuff for me has been huge this year. I think watching the players take the Titans down one at a time, and I think probably by the time this goes out, I would be amazed if they haven't won the war by then.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed. If you haven't, we're all doomed. We're all doomed. But watching them go down, I actually remember watching, and I think I did a piece of camera about the 10 years for Elite, about my favourite moments, of which there's been lots. But I do think watching that first time Tyrannus
Yeah, it was crazy.
explode and watching players just not know what's going to happen in game.
Yeah.
I think that for me was the...
That was it, yeah, because I think a lot of players, obviously we had the Azimuth stuff, where we were kind of somewhat finding our feet again with story and how
we play around.
Yeah, and then I think we really took it to the next level this year, and I think we had the in-game stuff with the Titan explosion, then more recently we've had those awesome
Nice,
cinematics.
Darkseid, well done.
The Titan arriving in Seoul.
Yeah, really fun. It's been really fun. It's been really fun to see the players engage with it all. So yeah, it's been a great year for us. We've really enjoyed it, and actually, it's been fueled really by the community. Like to see the engagement has been huge, and it's cliche. I don't know, and I don't really care, but like I don't care saying it when I mean that. It's like it absolutely fuels us. Like you have no idea. Like when you're down, we're down. When you're up, we're up. Right. So seeing you have such a great time this year has meant the world to us. So it's been good. And then obviously we've got another year to come to, which we'll come to in a little while. But I guess the second feature of this year was going to be. Oh, I think it was producer Adam fell off his chair. Are you all right, Adam?
He's alive.
He's alive. He's alive, chat. It's okay. It's fine. We had obviously PowerPlay 2.0 came out.
Yeah.
Obviously we've been tweaks and balance. Oh, we're remiss to mention engineering balance.
Of course, yeah.
SEO.
Yeah.
Loads of stuff. But PowerPlay 2.0 has come out. We've had a few tweaks and balances to go into that. I think because it's such a big system, it's great to see players engage with that. And actually, I think maybe for some new players, give them a bit of agency to go into the game and be like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I've pledged for power.
You got those missions, so like, yeah, if you're starting out in Elite Dangerous, you can head to PowerPlay.
Please do the missions.
Make sure you do those initial missions so that you can get some actual progress towards your power. But it is, you're right. It's a really great starting point for yourself. Or if you're coming back to Elite after a while, get involved.
Yeah, get back involved. And obviously we've got system colonisation. So, and obviously we announced that. I want to say it was the last show. Was it show before last? It was show before last. 2 shows ago.
Yeah.
This is because it's a pre-record, obviously, because this would be Christmas Day, and we're not doing. We love you, but not Christmas Day. Love you. So I'm not sure that this is going out. Producer Adam will tell me at some point. So we've got some questions that come in. There's been a ton of questions, as I'm sure. What we're going to try and do is rattle through a few, not all, of the questions that have been like the most asked, I guess.
Yeah, and there's some questions that now's not necessarily the right time to answer, but yeah, we've gone through and answered what we can.
All right, so should we start with system conversation questions?
Yep.
We'll take from the top and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So Zach, question number. Feels like a game show.
Yeah.
The question number 1: what are the costs of colonisation and setting up a colony ship?
So, as Piers said when he was on the show, the numbers are very much still in flux. We're still at that point where we can tweak the numbers to get where we want. And obviously, as we said on the last show or the show before, we are going to initially launch this into beta. So again, that's so we can,
have a look at the numbers
and see what we think. But in terms of costs for colonisation, so there is an initial credit cost to claiming a system. This is what sends the colony ship there. So it's not going to be a seriously large amount of credits. So I know we've seen people sort of talk about, since we announced it, like, is this way higher than getting a fleet carrier? And it's not. This is very much aimed at, you're not a new player, but you're a player that's put some time into Elite and you've got a bit of a kitty, right?
A bit of cash.
Yeah. So don't expect this to be crazy fleet carrier numbers to get that initial claim. And then after that, you have 4 weeks to finish building your initial starport using commodities.
And I think that's the key part, right? That it's the commodities part. So the money's that you get started, but actually this is effort, right? This is a huge undertaking. Like this is not like, I know a fleet carrier is a big deal, but like this is a huge. You're building, you're colonising a system, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. It takes you have to transport those materials that are used rather than the credit sink. It's getting those materials together.
Yeah, cool. All right, next question. Will there be any kind of upkeep? Because we get asked this a lot. Fleet carriers is an upkeep. Is there going to be an upkeep if you're the system architect for your system?
There is not. There is no upkeep cost, so no, you will not be penalised for being a system architect.
Hooray. So we can all just, we can be overlords.
Hey, Halcyon 07, man.
Cool.
What up?
What systems will be in place for a colonised system if the architect goes inactive for a period of time?
Well, nothing really. As I think Piers mentioned it on the last show, really, once you've created a system as a system architect, that system will act like any other system within the game. So if that system architect, just works and places one starport down, that's what the system is. If they progress from that, great. But either way, it's just going to act like any other system that you would find within.
And that makes sense, right? Because the system architect initially goes in there and initially colonizes that system. Where that system architect moves on, just like in reality, they're still the original architect of that system's colonization. What happens after that? The BGS and that sort of stuff, that can all be affected by players.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. You're going to have, hopefully we'll have a bunch of commanders that do maybe want to daisy chain out and you'll see maybe you come across a system and it's got one starport, and you see it's been done by this commander, and then you jump somewhere else and you see one starport by the same commander, and you're like, well, where does this go? And you can kind of follow that trail, and you're like, and then eventually maybe you get to this system where they've actually decided to stay.
This is their putting their flag in the ground.
You get that
right?
whole, you almost feel that journey that they went on to get to that system.
But you know what? I know we're doing questions, but tangentially, what I really like about that is like across that spine that commander or group of commanders are doing. You could branch off at any point because that system will have a contact in there if you be able to buy that, so you can move off. Obviously, there's the logistics we've talked about in the previous show. It's not as easy as just stage chaining all the way out because you need the materials to actually build your systems. All right. So will there be a fair system in place for purchasing claims for popular systems?
So claiming a system is very much first come, first serve. So we are expecting it to be a really exciting, like Gold Rush kind of scenario. When this
definitely play with friends.
It's going to be fun to see which commanders come out on top. That said, whilst players can be the architects of as many systems as they want to be, a player can only be in like one instance of the initial claiming process at a time.
So you can't lay claim to 20
You can't just
systems.
go out and claim 100 systems at a time. You can only be in that initial process for one system at a time. And if you fail to claim a system twice, you're going to be locked out for a number of days. So yes, it is going to be first come, first serve. We kind of want that to be the case. We want to have that sort of similar feeling of, everyone is going racing to get where they want to be. But it's fair in the case of one player can't just lay claim to all land. They've got to say, okay, I want this system, and then spread from there.
And I think Piers touched on it in the last show, where there are time limits in this, and at the two initial stages, right? The claiming and then obviously building the main
100%.
station. And that's because it is such a serious undertaking, right? Like we keep saying this, like this is the big deal, right? You're going to colonize the system. It's there forever. You are literally putting your stamp on the galaxy. So yeah, you can't claim more than one system at a time, and you have to follow through your claim. If you fail to follow through your claim, it becomes open to everybody else again. So there we go. Okay. How will players be able to colonize using a specific faction if there are no zero population systems within the colonization radius of systems containing that faction? Well, that is a question, Zach.
That is a mouthful, yes.
Yeah,
So I
it is a
think
mouthful.
this one has come off the back of obviously us talking about that radius that exists for colonization. That again, numbers still to be decided. But in this case, I think in this scenario, you would likely want to engage with the BGS to make sure that your faction that you do want to spread has control of a station within a system that they can colonize from. So yes, if your faction does not have a colonizable system within that initial bubble, you're just going to have to engage with the BGS like you would traditionally and move your faction
into it,
gain control somewhere else, and then from there you would be able to engage with colonization.
And will there be a limit to how many systems a player can be actively an architect for?
No, as I mentioned previously, you can only be claiming one system at a time, but you are able to be the architect for as many systems as you like, whether that's 1 or 100 or 1,000, or maybe we get just one commander who plays with colonization and they just take over the entire galaxy.
Oh, there won't be. There'll be dozens of.
I mean, who knows anyone like that?
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of people.
But it's possible, right? If you have the time and you have the effort and you want to work together, you can absolutely do that. I think we covered this, but will the BGS rules apply to colonized systems?
Yeah, so player colonized systems will basically act the same as all other systems within Elite. So whatever you're used to right now within Elite Dangerous and a system with the BGS, you can expect the colonized systems to replicate that.
Cool. All right. Can architects, it's a nefarious question, but can architects permit lock systems or decide trade routes?
No. So all other players will be able to sort of freely engage with player colonized systems. We don't want to be locking systems out from people. You can affect the trade in a system based on that kind of economy that you create, like Piers said.
You can create
you have a lot of choice there. It's the kind of sort of economy you want to put together. So there's no direct tool per se to create a trade route, which wouldn't really work anyway. But you can change that landscape of trade within that area of space to suit your needs, really. That's the whole point of colonization, is to suit your needs.
I'm actually excited to see how the different economies build up, because I think we were talking in the previous stream about the micro bubbles. I think we're going to see where these data chains go out to a certain point and then realise we're too far away from the bubble to actively get resources. So we need to colonise this area here. It'll be a micro bubble, and that will be determined by whatever economies people are putting in there and resources, and then they'll move on.
And I think that's we've had, obviously the past couple of years, we've had a lot of great content around the Fargoids and a lot of stuff for our anti-Xeno players, our combat players, and you know, fairly we've had quite a few people who are trade players and our exploration players saying, "Oh, can we get, you know,
Can we get something?
Can we get something?" And this is kind of for you. Like, obviously, there's plenty for a combat player to engage with, but exploration player, you're going to be going out, like you said, deciding where those mini bubbles are, and then the trade players, that could be your new hub, right? There's so much profit to be made
So I think
in those areas.
when we talk about trade, we're going to see that happen, and that's the thing we're most excited about system colonizations. We generally don't know what players are going to do,
No
right?
idea.
We don't. This is the galaxy is going to be for you. So you're asking us questions. We're like,
We'll
it's
try.
whatever you want, really. Like, you can do what you want with the galaxy. That's why we're kind of like we're excited. We're also a little bit terrified. Not going to lie, tiny bit terrified because we don't know what happens until it happens, right? Okay. So I guess on the back of that, what are the benefits for a system for a player for a system colonization?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of similar depending on whether you're a solo commander or a group of commanders. You can colonize a system either way. Like, there will always be one sort of like system architect, but if you're a group of players, great, you can work together. If you're a solo player, great.
So you can do it on your own. If you want to be on your own,
yeah. It might be a bit more effort because you got to gather the materials yourself, but you absolutely can. And I think the main benefit really is that you can set that system up to get what you want from it. So sort of depending on your choices, that can affect the types of missions that you'll find in that system. You can set up markets to suit your trade needs and so on. So if all the systems around are industry markets, you could create an extraction-based market.
Definitely seems well developed,
trade route
chat.
that you've made for yourself to take advantage
That's
of.
for
So
sure.
It's that kind of like almost out of the box thinking of how can I engage with the Elite Dangerous systems that I know so well to create this new star system that works perfectly for what I want to do within the game.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot here that it's hard to really articulate, but it will be down to what the players do, right?
Yeah,
Essentially, which is exactly what we want. All right. So will colonization be possible from anywhere that has a human station?
No. So yes and no. So as of right now, you must start from the bubble.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to start this off. I think Piers mentioned the same. So when system colonization launches, you'll only be able to begin the process from the bubble. However, from that point onwards, you'll be able to colonize, yes, anywhere that has a human station within radius. So let's say we do go with that 10 light year radius for system colonization. At the start, you'll be able to go 10 light years from the bubble, and then once they've colonized that system, you can go 10 light years from there, and 10. And so eventually, yes, you can go wherever you want, but we'll be starting it in the bubble.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
If you start in another system, how soon after do you lose your system architect role in the first system?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, like we said, you can be the system architect many times you like. That tag isn't going to go anywhere. That's your system to control. You might, like we talked about, maybe you're an explorer. You've daisy chained out to a system, and then maybe you want to come back at some point and say, oh, actually, I probably want to I'll add more to this because I've found
you
that
could,
I'm
right?
lacking.
If you've done that, you could become. I'm not a megalomaniac, but you could daisy chain out and then build an empire all the way back.
Yeah,
right? If you really wanted to.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you really wanted to. Okay. I think that's kind of answered the next question. Will the systems display who the system architect is, or will it be left anonymous?
It will, in fact, display who the system architect is. So you'll find that in the Galaxy and system map. It will display the name of the system architect, as well as a few other things that will be useful. I think we'll talk about in a moment.
Okay, next question. Will there be any opportunity to expand infrastructure in currently established systems?
No. So as I think Piers has said again, player colonization is strictly for those currently uninhabited systems. That's the whole point of expanding the bubble and spreading humanity.
Cool. Talking about spreading the spread of humanity, will there be any in-game tools to find good systems to colonize and to choose where colonization options are placed?
Yeah, so the map UI will give you some of that information. So the architect view in a system you've explored will give you some indication of what that system could look like when colonized. So you basically, what you want to do, I guess the flow will be you want to head to a system, make sure you've done the exploration part of that, and then you'll get all this information, say, okay, this looks like a good system to either build my home base on, or maybe it's one of those daisy chains. And you can make that gather that information before you make your choice.
Yep. Okay. Are there any penalties or just general downsides to having multiple economies in a system or investing too heavily?
I'm hoping Star Citizen and stuff this detailed
Not
chat.
necessarily. I mean, having
but
multiple
I doubt they
economies
will.
means that they'll
We'll
even
see.
out. So you'll get a good spread of options there for yourself, but you won't have that golden goose market, so to speak, where that excels at one thing. So again, with everything with colonization, it's really up to you and how you want to benefit from that system.
Yeah. Next question. I think this has already been answered, but will it be possible to blockade or attack colonized systems during the construction or after completion?
No. So colonization is very much not a PvP feature.
Yeah.
It is once you are the system architect, that's your system.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it being detonated at some point.
Cool. All right, Zach, thank you very much. Well, that's a lot of questions there. It's not all the questions, it's a lot of questions, and there's probably loads more. As I said, the colonization feature is going into beta. Just to be clear on what the beta means is we're putting the feature into the game. All players will be able to engage with it. What you do will be final. So if you colonize systems during the beta, they'll be yours. You'll be able to keep them. We're not take them away from you. But what we want players to understand is that we'll be taking that time to measure, to make sure things work correctly.
Yep.
Fundamentally, to make sure that the tools that players need are operating as as should be intended. It will give us a chance to measure what players are actually doing, because this is such a fundamental change that we really do need to get a grasp on how players are going to interact with it. Whether it's going to be everyone's going to go and do their own thing, or players are going to work in groups, and we're trying to find that balance. So hence the reason we're saying it's going to be in beta. We want to get it right, but we don't necessarily get it right first time. So we're going to give us some time.
Yeah, it's a mammoth.
Yeah,
task,
it's huge. And just to go back to what we said about this year, and just to give some extra love to our development team. I sometimes forget that they actually simulated a one-to-one galactic scale war.
Yeah.
And now we're doing power play, and now we're doing system colonization in a one-to-one scale in the Milky Way galaxy. I genuinely my mind. When I sit down and talk to some of the team,
my brain melts when I think of that.
Saying words to me, just like a bit out of was it The Hangover, where just numbers appear. I'm just I have no idea what he was saying. But
and we're in year 11 of the game.
Yeah, we're about going to year 11. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah, cool. All right. So there's a lot of stuff going on there with system colonization. Zach, we're coming to the end of the show. We've talked about how good this year's been.
Yep.
Obviously, the question we always get asked, and it's really nice to be asked, is what comes next? What can we expect to see from Elite Dangerous next year? Anything you can tell us?
Well, I mean, I think we kicked off this year in January, February. The first unlock.
I honestly can't remember. It was the first unlock.
The first unlock show we ever did. We kicked it off. We talked about what was coming to Elite Dangerous this year. That went down super well. So why don't we do the same again next year?
I think that's a great idea. I think that's the best idea that you've had.
Perfect.
It's not. You've had loads of good ideas. All right, look, Zach, thanks a lot. We'll come back then, I guess.
Yeah,
for our first unlocked.
See you in the first unlocked, yeah.
And we will tell you all about Elite Dangerous for 2025. Feels so good to say that, right?
Yep,
Feels so good to say. Stay tuned. It's going to be exciting. Another exciting year for Elite Dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Got a lot of stuff on the board already for you.
Yep.
Zach, thanks a lot, man.
No worries.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
You too.
Looks like it's going to be interesting going forward with Elite. I don't know. It looks good, chat, so far. I like what I'm seeing with what Elite's got to work with. So, yeah. Definitely looks like they've well planned out. Well, I'm just saying, it looks like Frontier is just very well planned out. Frontier does. We'll see, though, in the coming months. I want to see how they execute this. Hopefully it's okay. It's good. Normally, Tomato is pretty optimistic, but we'll see. I want to see bug fixes, massive bug fixes, before I give significant game time to CIG this year. Just saying. Or at least minimal bug fixes, chat.
And a return to 4 updates released a year. The message is clear. CIG wants to focus on one thing this year: player enjoyability. Getting you into the game to play and stay. So today I'm going to show you what Star Citizen's short-term future looks like.
Sometimes I think he's a little too optimistic, but we'll see.
Why we may actually have a really good playable experience by year's end. This is the game plan for 2025. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. If you want to get to the specific gameplay changes I think we might see, check out the chapters in this video down below. Otherwise, let's talk about company restructures and the new development practices being employed. If you watched my previous video, then you know the long-term setup that has led to 2025. If you haven't, I'd check it out, because we can see quite a bit of unified messaging around this idea of playability, of course.
Fair enough.
But also on the restructuring of teams, moving away from specialized teams, centralizing production, and moving towards a more traditional development and release structure. Something that many lovers and detractors of Star Citizen have wanted to see, in a way, for a while. Many players are tired of consistently delayed features, unpredictable stability and performance, and a general lack of congruency in the development. And at 12 years into development, some may argue it's actually too late. But what's been built here hasn't just been Star Citizen. They've been building the studios, developing the game engine, and creating the other game, Squadron 42. And these have also led to some of the delays. And I think up until now, they have not been in a good position to move on from the move fast and break things model of development.
He's not even covering other things that there's been issues
tech
with.
side recently, and also coming up in the near future, that I think changes things. Systems like PES and server meshing, the goal set out in 2018, eliminate scalability concerns, allowing this game to start moving towards becoming an MMO, while the dynamic economy and advanced AI create the potential for deeply engaging player experiences. I'm talking not just balances of what things cost, but also risk and reward calculations, now showing players much better payouts when they're running missions that ask for more. Genesis is aimed at making full planet creation scale up from the tech that was introduced in 2017 in order to help make star systems faster. The resource network, conceptualized back in 2013 and introduced in development in 2020, is finally functional in outposts and ships, controlling power management, gravity, and life support. Crafting and base building add dimensions to just about everything in the game, and supply a much more cohesive meeting point for all gameplay styles and mechanics in the game, which we'll get to later. The game renderer finally supports the Vulkan API, future-proofing the game and allowing for further optimization and features like clouds, DLSS, FSR, ray tracing, and other improvements to the game's looks. The list goes on and on for long-term goals that have all been coalescing at the same time. Even the UI in this game is starting to come together for several systems in ways it just hasn't before. But timing isn't everything. CIG has had a lot of tech before, but they shipped their alpha implementations of features in ways that needed fixes, changes, or got immediately called out by players as having avoidable errors. Under their siloed team structure, specialized teams like the actor feature, UI, or vehicle feature team worked independently on their respective components. This often resulted in mismatched expectations, where a feature might technically work, but lacked usability, integration with other systems, or a cohesive player experience. This results in gameplay that is fun or works in the game, but still leaves you feeling like there's a lot of potential, and specifically, it feels still disconnected from the rest of the game. Mining doesn't naturally lead to cargo hauling. Mercenary work doesn't lead to opportunities for medics. Nobody is exploring to find the minables or salvageables for others to exploit, and various UI are not very consistent across the game either. Everything feels separated, still alpha-level implementation, not necessarily delivered all from the same handbook, and based around a culture of testing rather than playing.
Now don't get me wrong, we have a lot of gameplay already in the game, but it's in isolated pockets. It's like if you want to just be a miner, great, you can go and do mining, you can do that loop, but I want the connections. I want the interwebbing. That's the difference between features and content and a game. And I want to push towards that as quickly as possible.
This is what will be changing in 2025. It's not necessarily about the features.
We'll see.
CIG has given next to no specific messaging about that, a huge change from just about every other year previously. No, instead, they're louder on messaging about structural changes, managerial changes, and a change in the philosophy behind Star Citizen's short-term development. This is the first major change we're seeing. Many of the teams at CIG are being restructured from their solo focus approach as discussed before, with a multitude of devs looking solely at the actor features or the vehicle features, to a more multidisciplinary approach. So when the gameplay teams are shipping their cargo hauling features, there's going to be a UI designer poking them every day to add search and filter features for the build, because that's just something that the UI people would think of that they might not have been there to do previously.
Damn, I
at
keep
least
slipping
early
out
on
of
in
my
the
chair.
process. While the previous model of specialized teams allowed for a very experimental, fast-moving, and foundational approach, Star Citizen is seemingly moving out of that phase of development and into one a bit more calmer, traditional, and possibly a bit slower. But slower isn't what it sounds like. See, those multidisciplinary teams are focused on content delivery, missions, interlinking functionality, in-game rewards, and proper location functionality should hypothetically be developed in line with these features now, allowing the game content players will enjoy to be developed hand in hand with the people making the actual features that use them. Something that we've actually heard before.
We wanted to create a closer relationship between the feature teams and the level designers, who are basically the people who are using, they're essentially the client who are utilizing these features.
Another thing CIG wants to do is return to the normal structured 4 updates a year, something players became very used to from 2018 to 2021, but as soon as 3.18 hit, things got completely thrown and haven't returned to normalcy for 3 years due to PES, the replication layer, and server meshing. Now we've reached a milestone where it seems they want to return to quarterly updates, which, under this new method of work, I think will include smaller amounts of features that are more efficiently packaged into content drops and make more sense than the hodgepodge of features we sometimes get before. But this is the most important part of this whole strategy. Starting from April of 2025, are Star Citizen's updates more cohesive, more polished, and more intuitive? Or is it still all the same? Finally, one of the most notable changes coming in 2025 is the introduction of a more refined testing pipeline. We've seen this used with instances like 4.0 testing and some of the earlier features last year, but in 2025 it's going a step further. By isolating features in an experimental PTU environment before integrating them into the live game, CIG has significantly reduced the risk of new features breaking existing systems and ruining the update experience for players. Now a feature will be introduced to the public in the experimental PTU, but it will sit in that phase.
I've become kind of a critic myself in the last couple of weeks. Well, 2 or 3 months, so I'll put it that way.
This approach reflects a broader commitment to stability and
I
polish.
just don't voice it as much because I don't want to scare off people.
But the challenge with all of this will be balancing these new practices with the project's ambitious vision and catalog of features, ensuring that this restructuring supports rather than compromises the more systemic features Star Citizen aims to deliver. I would say that the company here is not the same CIG that has tried to make shifts in its development style in the past, for better or for worse. The combination of completed technical milestones, streamlined team structures, a renewed focus on quarterly updates, and seemingly somebody put in the position to make it all happen, makes 2025 feel like a genuinely pivotal year for this project. While I thought last year would contain all the changes needed to make it a pivot point, the delays of server meshing, economy rebalance, and a new star system took away from that aspect. But it's not just about the gameplay. For the first time, CIG actually has the tools, the leadership, and the processes in place to shift from endless experimentation to tangible delivery. Does that mean skepticism is unwarranted? No, but the progress made in 2024 suggests that CIG is finally learning how to execute, outside of a couple blunders. The refocus on time-focused
Couple of blunders, it's funny.
the restructured teams, and a pledge to playability may be just what Star Citizen needs right now. If there's ever been a year that Star Citizen was in the spotlight to see some substantial progress towards its actual vision, it's 2025. As always though, don't believe it until you see it, but keep an eye out for it this year. Something special actually might happen. In the meantime, let's look at how the actual gameplay you play might change during that time. Going into 2025, we actually don't know much about what is specifically planned for the game. Of all the gameplay we know about, have seen, and have heard of, we only know that base building and monster hunting in Pyro are planned in the next 12 to 18 months. I could tell you several things that almost guaranteed to come in that period of time as well, like the engineering system, new missions, the new quantum travel system, the Nyx star system, new weapons, new ships, new factions, and advancements in reputation. But those are all just educated guesses. None of it has actually been confirmed yet. Like I said before, this is very different from what they've done in the past. So we aren't sure how gameplay would change in 2025, but like Chris said at the beginning of this video, if the game ran well, people would be playing it. And you've also said just as much in my own polls. So we can take a look at what's available now and consider how the game around existing gameplay, given the change in focus on development we're seeing at the company, some of the latest feature advancements and things I definitely know are coming in the next year, and how the professions might play if the game gets really good stability this year. Let's start with cargo hauling and trading. Right now, you can either check the prices of commodities at various locations and buy low, sell high at various levels of capacity. The scale that this occurs at is still extremely low, all things considered, and things are not incredibly dynamic, but you will find reliable price discrepancies between the new, more dangerous Pyro system and the relatively safer Stanton. The information is not available to you in the game yet, but you can easily find websites that are tracking some level of supply and demand, profit margins, etc. There is also a black market with particular locations you can sell at. You can benefit from using different ships for different types of hauling. And the gameplay itself is applied with tractor beams, various tools available to you, and the ability to split the job up amongst friends in creative ways. We are still missing more specialized cargo types though. I do believe that the new focus on economy, along with the new star system and the cargo refactor, will make this a very interesting type of gameplay in 2025. On the other side of things, hauling boxes through contracts for companies sees you basically driving UPS for various clients for anything from a few hundred kilos of scrap metal to multiple tons of medical supplies or methane. The list of commodities has grown to over 80 different materials, elements, consumables, and illicit substances. You'll eventually start to find the routes you like through these missions and transition into the trading we were just talking about. But this is a better starter choice just because you don't have to risk your own money. And as a new addition, it offers an easy way to get a feel for the verse in a low pressure environment, while also being able to build your reputation and progress through the profession itself with the various companies throughout the game. In the following year, I would hope we see more shifting prices, the in-game rewards we're still waiting for from CitizenCon 2023, and a focus on high-value, low-capacity cargo. I do think that's really missing from the profession. Mining is an interesting one. As the longest present industrial profession, it is the most developed, but because it came out earlier in this game's development, it's still missing things like missions and reputation support, which means there isn't much visible progression in doing it outside of money and your enjoyment, which may be all you need, but mining is due for an update. Regardless, it is well developed, and if CIG can indeed get base building or crafting of any sort into the game this year, it will completely transform the profession. At that point, missions are appreciated for introducing and grounding the profession, but the amount of motivation to mine different materials goes up quite a bit once that happens. This could start a mining boon, which could call for cargo haulers and of course security forces. And this is just one look at the impact base building and crafting will have in the game. Outside of that, mining is already changing, with new more valuable materials spawning in the new system.
Okay, let's see what we got. We're getting tin, silicon, ice. Ice in a rock? Probably a water-rich asteroid or something? Maybe? Kind of odd. Rare mineral materials. Stilron and rissite. Rissite, the rarest mineral in Pyro. Even rarer than Quantanium. Rissite. That sounds awesome to look for.
I did some ice mining in the outer reaches of the Pyro system for a couple hours straight, and flying smart, I didn't get attacked at all. From what we've heard, this resource scattering will be changing at some point as well. Not sure if it'll be this year, but it is in line with resource quality, which is linked to crafting. We should see all deposits change from multi-material rocks to singular material rocks that vary in quality. This quality will translate from mining to refining to...
Yeah, Tomato has been critical on occasion, and he's been pretty fair. It's why I watch him quite a bit. And I agree with you. I dislike the White Knights that just make up stuff to make SC and CIG look good. I actually agree with a lot of people. Elite does have things that Star Citizen can't do. It's just, for me, it's not the game I wanted. Wanted to play after a while. But now it looks like there's been some major changes that make me want to try it again, you know? I don't know. I'll try.
Crafting, and ultimately it will affect the quality of the items you use. So you can see how the choices you make at the very beginning of the manufacturing process and mining will affect the ultimate outcome several possible game loops later when you're using it to shoot someone in a contested zone. Again, crafting is a big change, and this will change the way folks look for and collect minerals. It's also possible we finally see mining missions in the game via contracts in 2025, but we have no reason to believe it will happen. Bounty hunting in this game is extremely straightforward and has been since 3.0 really. Take a bounty, fly to the location, kill the marked ship. Sometimes you'll need to fight on the ground though, so watch the description. This is for those who want to make money shooting spaceships. You'll start easy with a certification mission in whatever jurisdiction you're in. Then you'll get easy targets for a while. One ship with 1 or 2 wingmates and simple ships. You can take out the target and flee, or spend time getting some more experience, but that's really all there is to it. You can move up in reputation, but there aren't any unique rewards, locations, or opportunities to unlock. Things can get interesting when you start taking player bounties, which will look pretty obvious next to the AI-generated names. But bounty hunting is still really hurting for an update.
I don't disagree, either of you.
See one in 2025.
It is his business.
Mercenary work is your FPS
But at the same time, he also has his opinions too.
Even if
A lot of people like his opinions.
Even if things don't work out, you'll still get a good chance to experience most of what the game has to offer combat-wise. And you'll get some loot out of it that you can sell. With some of the improvements from last year to the FPS experience, it's playing better, but with proper stability, this would likely be a pretty good experience for the genre. Not only does the AI improving in 4.0 and general stability improvements from server meshing show good signs when it works, but we're also seeing more locations in the game you can take these missions, and they also correspond to reputation progression. Arena Commander may also see some key updates now that the game is seeing more stability, hopefully with the anticipated Horde mode that would have you fighting endless waves of FPS NPCs. Much like Pirate Swarm, but on the ground. What might be changing the game for merc work in the PU are more in-game rewards achieved by dungeon crawling in the Pyro system. Besides this, there are possibilities we'll see even more rare or exclusive loot placed in the game this year, with new armor and weapons in the works that we saw last year.
Hope so.
FPS radar and scanning will likely improve the experience this year as well, and FPS AI are getting smarter, reacting to dynamic cover and
Yeah, I've heard
perception.
the new AI are dangerous, guys.
One major
They're
part of the game
lethal.
that I think affects everything, but I think FPS especially, is voice comms. We've seen some talk of improved voice comms, and we know that they want to redo and introduce the comms and social app respectively, but if they want to do it all at once, I worry we won't actually see a comms-related update this year. And I think the status of VoIP in this game really needs to take a step up in 2025.
Salvaging.
2025 is already a pretty decent time for the folks that do it. Very calming.
Hi,
and
me.
methodical. You can do it solo or in groups, picking up construction materials or RMC, taking the haul back and forth, or teaming up with the hauler and spending long hours in the black.
Hopefully we
Also
get
makes
some
good
more
money,
ships.
But how could it change in 25? Well, besides overall stability making a difference, I'm thinking if we see both scanning and quantum boosting updates in 2025, the process of scanning and tracking these derelicts might change quite a bit. As more ships get their due updates, we are also going to be seeing the component salvage from vessels become more common, besides just the scraping and the hull crunching. With engineering, gameplay ships will rarely explode from now on, and will usually just be disabled. This means a lot more salvage and money potential after battles too, and if materials do gain their value for base building and crafting, we could see salvagers actually getting the unique materials from the carcasses of ships. I'm talking elements like steel, titanium, or gold. There's a lot of potential for this gameplay, and of course the hull crunching gameplay will change with Maelstrom as well, but I don't even want to get your hopes up about Maelstrom possibly coming this year. I don't know what's going on with that. As it is, we could see a multitude of big changes coming to Salvage to make it more playable, or just maybe one or two, but I think we will see the experience changing this year. Now, you might not believe there's exploration gameplay in Star Citizen, and you'd be right if you wanted to get paid. But you may not know how close it is to reality. With these unique deposits, material rarity, component salvage, and unique loot all becoming more prominent in Star Citizen, more people are going to be willing to pay to find it. Or as the explorer, you could just take all the goods for yourself and then sell those. All we need in 2025 for this to be possible is the ability to save and share waypoints on the star map, and exploration takes off. Along with Quantum Boost allowing you to travel anywhere, and a refactored scanning and ping system on ships, improved playability could mean people who like looking for things could have a way to fund their addiction this year. Unfortunately, medical gameplay is pretty light right now. While players can manage drug levels to nerf the effects of injuries, and there is some depth and excitement to it on the spot, this is only good for group gameplay. Solo medics still can't find missions to heal NPCs, and rarely get medical beacons. Of course, we could talk again about the reputation system and how it's needed for those medical beacons to make more sense, but with the RSI Apollo possibly scheduled to release this year, there are also some signs that we could see something substantial. The same goes with crafting possibilities, with the ability to make medications or other types of things. But as far as the nitty-gritty medical gameplay of healing goes, we don't have much to go by for this year. In 2025, piracy will likely flourish. With a new star system that has no comms system, crime is pretty easy. And if CIG can get AI to function in-game in space, players are going to have a multitude of targets. But that's a big if. Regardless, the system still offers a lot of opportunities in the drug trade, in exploiting cargo haulers, and in outpost raiding. Though I think like many other professions, this will continue to be hurt by the lack of reliable VoIP. I would also say, with ships going from time to kill to time to disable, pirates are going to need to get a lot better at boarding action and negotiating.
Yeah, definitely.
Refueling has been toast for a while. Not only has it not worked well due to the state of the game, you can't even adequately request a refuel in-game. You have to type into global chat, which is crazy. So besides the simple fix of giving us back beacons that allow us to actually use these features, refueling could be, in the meantime, something orgs make good use of, especially in Pyro. When ships can reliably refuel, it gives those players something to do for their gameplay, balancing prices, locations, and how much they're willing to sell. It allows events to run for longer, and operations to run a little more streamlined when mining or salvaging for long amounts of time. So that's all good on the group side of things. But until beacons are in the game or players can assign missions and tasks to one another, this is just very dead as a community activity. Luckily, we have heard talk about this system getting some work, but no signs it'll happen in 2025. Regardless, just the added stability that we'll see from server meshing and fixing some of the bugs in the refueling department could help the gameplay out a lot more this year, though I don't think we'll be seeing missions anytime soon. Finally, engineering and repair. The biggest and really only major gameplay addition we know for sure is landing in 2025. Engineering was delayed from 4.0, leading many players to call 4.0 an empty patch. I know. But when the feature does come in the future, it will completely change our ability to make our ships last longer. Repairing it, replacing parts, running maintenance, it'll all be in our hands to define how our own ship performs. This will introduce a real feeling of belonging in home, but also enhance our multi-crew gameplay, our combat, trade, salvage, and ship customization. It's a big change on its own with ships, but it also will be found in outposts, cities, and space stations. Fuses are now a new currency in the game, and managing the power systems of various locations will lead to new
those are going to be expensive
opportunities for players across both Pyro and Stanton in 2025. Offering likely one of the largest expansions in unique gameplay we've ever seen in the game, and introducing the maintenance worker as a new profession. A major moment for Star Citizen, and a big proving point for the Resource Network. A lot of this could still go wrong this year, and I'm sure we will see some deadlines missed and natural problems of development arise. A company like this, that's been working like this for this long, doesn't make a transition this significant without a couple issues. But I do think this is CIG's final chance to really solidify the structure of the company into something that can deliver and maintain both of these games at the massive scale they want to do and the game engine behind them. Skepticism remains a defining factor in Star Citizen's story. The community has seen bold claims before, only to be let down by delays and incomplete features. For many players, 2025 feels kind of like the last chance for CIG to demonstrate that they can turn the vision into reality. The technology is finally there, the leadership has made critical adjustments, and the framework for delivery is in place. Now, it's all about execution. I think this is a great move for the company and the game if they can pull it off. If 2025 succeeds, it won't just mark a good step forward for Star Citizen, it could be a bit of a redemption arc for a project that has struggled at times with credibility. But the margin for error here is pretty small. Each patch, each feature, and each communication this year is going to be pretty heavily scrutinized after the last few. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the expectations couldn't be clearer. 2025 must be the year Star Citizen begins to fulfill its promises, not just in potential, but in practice. It's time to shift the focus from the game engine to the game, and for us, from testing to play. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. It's another one of those long ones, but I hope it sets your expectations for 2025 and things go well from here. I hope you learned something in this one, and I'll catch you in the next.
Well, we'll see, Tomato. We will see. Well, we'll see where things go with that, I guess. I mean, there's only one way to go, and that's up, unfortunately. There's only one way to go, and that's up. And kind of how it is. Hopefully Tomato's correct. I really pray he is, because he made some great points. Man. Doggone it. Oh, darn it. Ugh. Oh well. New year, new mysteries of what gets done. Yep. Oh, let me see here. Yeah. Stir. Ouch. Kicked my foot. I just kicked my foot really hard. That did Ruin Anyways, I'm gonna raid somebody since I'm getting tired. I'm gonna raid Ruin TV if they're around. Start raid. Never heard of them, but I figure I'd give them a raid and send the joy to them. So I will send you guys over to Ruin 07. See y'all later. Have a good night, guys. Laters. Hey, Darkside, YouTube brother. Have a good night.